Hello, I'm Harry Caldwell, and I'm here to talk today about my topic, frenemies, the love-hate relationship between archaeologists and relic hunters. When it comes to archaeology, archaeologists and relic hunters both like to dig. They love to look for old cultural and historic artifacts and use them to make connections to the past. However, despite their similarities, there is a lot of animosity between the two groups. Archaeologists often blame relic hunters for the fallout between communities such as Native Americans and other indigenous groups. Also, they blame relic hunters for destroying and tearing up cultural and historic sites and the loss of many artifacts with that. One of these critics is Mike Pitts, who writes for the anthropological magazine Anthropology Today. He gives a scathing critique of the Spike television show American Digger, which stars former wrestler Rick Savage as he goes around America looking for um, cultural artifacts. It could be the Native American projectile points. It could be Civil War bullets, or in one case, it was a gold panning pan. And in the case of the gold prospecting pan, Pitts points out that Savage found it a little bit too perfectly. That it was in too good a condition. He found it a little bit too soon, using very little technique, um, indicating that Savage had actually planted the piece just so it can be found. And this very well may be the case, but in the article, Savage ties this case to other shows such as Diggers and many others. Some that are sponsored by um, credible sources such as National Geographic. This is um, this is where things get controversial. See, archaeologists they have a very strict methodology doing things, the archaeological method, and this method ensures that the people doing the digging are are protecting the cultural and historic resources within the site they're digging in. They can safely excavate and be able to um, tell what information from the site they're digging in. Relic hunters don't have this kind of um, methodology. They vary from metal detectors. If they have the money, they'll use GPR, shovel test pits, ground surveys, anything you can use. Many of which that archaeologists will use the same thing um, to find things, but there is no set standard for relic hunting though, and this can be destructive in some cases. And that's what one relic hunter, Robert Compton, points out to WSET, a local a news source, that many of these shows they do damage to the cultural sites in America, and there should be a set standard for these shows to help protect these sites that they're digging at. Well, adding to the fire is Dr. Virginia Butler. She's a professor at Oregon State University in anthropology, and she writes about how relic hunters and archaeologists are responsible for the fall of Native American communities in Oregon and the northwest region. Particularly, she points to the case of the Kennewick Man. The Kennewick Man was a 9,000-year-old skeleton that was in the found in a valley over in Oregon State, and there's a lot of controversy on who does Kennewick Man belong to. Does he belong to the native tribes of Oregon? Does he belong to the Army Corps of Engineers, whose land he was found on? Does he belong to the Smithsonian? And there's many other groups that are claiming him. But Butler points to the use of the actions of relic hunters in the past on why things are so tense during this discussions over Chemical Man, saying that in the past relic hunters had gone in and, and taken artifacts and even in some cases bodies of former indigenous peoples here in North America and other places, resulting in fallout between these communities. Well, one big thing that archaeologists have that relic hunters don't is a central organization. They have the American Anthropological Association (AAA), which sets the standard for what archaeologists can and cannot do. If you're a if you're an archaeologist or an anthropologist that's associated with AAA, then you're accredited. However, there is no um, standard for relic hunting. There's no big organization. There's no AAA for relic hunters that can mean they're accredited or not. So this can mean that there are that practices can vary, mainly on just how well funded the relic hunter is or what their ethics are. So this is where things can be a problem. However, on the other side of the coin, there's several cases where relic hunters and archaeologists work together. Matthew Reeves, who's the lead archaeologist at Montpelier in Virginia, that's the home of James Madison. For the past decade, Reeves has been working with metal detecting communities to run metal detecting surveys at Montpelier. And once these metal detectors have finished their surveys, they will assist the archaeologists in uncovering the artifacts. And this has proved to be uh, largely successful. Not only does it allow the metal detecting community to work with archaeologists, it teaches these metal detectors the proper way to excavate. It teaches them safe and secure ways to remove artifacts and actually get information from them without destroying the site. And Reeves reports that one of the main goals that he was trying to do here is establish trust between um, the metal detecting community and in the archaeology community. And to do this, he reached out to one big metal detecting group that's within the region to promote what he's doing, and this has brought in several people across the country to take part in this. And other sites such as Poplar Forest and many others, they've looked at what Reeves is doing and they're beginning to pick up. And now you see several other historical sites um, who are recruiting relic hunters to come do what they do best, but do it in a way that where they learn to do less damage. There are, of course, laws that regulate relic hunting and looting. The two big ones is the American Antiquities Act of 1906 and the 1990 Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, also known as NAGPRA. These two are the create the two big blankets that define what's defined as legal relic hunting and what is illegal looting. Um, you pretty much can't do anything that involves archaeology or relic hunting in the United States without looking at these two. In the state, you have the Virginia Antiquities Act, which is the equivalent to the American Antiquities Act. You have the Appropriations Act, several other ones that limit what you can and cannot do within the Commonwealth of Virginia. The verdict that I've reached on in this study is that relic hunting is largely a case of a few bad apples spoiling the bunch. Most relic hunters, such as Robert Compton and a few others, as I mentioned in my study, um, are playing by the rules. And as I mentioned, they are just there for the thrill of finding something and to establish that connection to the past. But as long as there are those who don't play by the rules and upset things, that divide between relic hunters and archaeologists will always exist. However, if archaeologists such as Reeves and others, if they continue to work with the enemy, Reeves' article was called "Sleeping with the Enemy." So if they continue to sleep with the enemy, then I believe um, the future of historical sites and cultural sites will be in much safer hands. Thank you.